Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Thanks for joining me today. In this important video, we're going to discuss the coming crisis the United States will be facing that's caused by our currency collapse abroad. So if you've been paying attention to the news over the past few weeks, there's a lot that's been going on. The world is on the precipice of essentially the next conflict. That is a multi-jurisdictional conflict, whether it's the Ukraine and Russia conflict, or the Chinese and the Taiwan issue, or now in the Middle East with Israel being attacked by Iran. There are many things going on, but the global hegemon, which the United States has proudly held its place as over really the past 70 years, since the victories of the Allies over the Axis, that has been built on our dollar. The IMF, over the past, I think it was a week and a half ago, the IMF released a statement that really is quite alarming, and it should be rattling people, but it's not being talked about. I haven't seen really anybody digesting this. The IMF released a statement, and I'll link to this in the description box below, released a statement in which they essentially castigated the United States for fiscal irresponsibility, to which everyone who's been paying attention said, duh. The United States' fiscal position is not something that can be sustained. And this is the kicker. The IMF, in their statement that was released, said essentially, I'm going to paraphrase this, you can read it for yourself, said essentially, guys, the reason why you're doing well right now is not because your dollar is so great, it's because demand is outpacing what it previously has. And they also recognize that the United States is on a crash course. We are totally on a collision course as far as our spending. It's out of control. But here's the point. The IMF drew something into full focus that really should have us paying attention. That is, they noted that the rest of the world is looking at us right now. And the timbre of their statement didn't directly say this, but the undercurrent was this. We know y'all are screwing with your currency. We know you're inflating it. And considering the fact that the rest of the world holds the majority of your dollars, the majority of $100 bills, greenbacks that are in circulation right now, I want to say it's 80% of them are outside of the United States. And 60%, roughly according to the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, 60% of dollars that are held, that are created by our Federal Reserve, they're not held in the United States, they're held outside of the United States. So who do you think is affected adversely by inflation and by this printing and this spending and this runaway debt? Not just us here in the United States, the rest of the world. Why this matters and how this connects with the potential for essentially World War III. Oftentimes, monetary matters, not just conflicts related to people groups and nation states and borders and boundaries and finite resources. Economies go to war. And war is a tool of economies to usually right themselves if they've screwed up, or really to do a reset. The rest of the world holds the majority of our money. These dollar bills that are in circulation are held essentially as a global reserve currency. In many cases by people, just simple people who don't like their own currency's solvency and stability. And so they choose to hold $100 bills, or they choose to save in American dollars. The reason why this has been the case is because the United States' dollar has been considered stable and has been the de facto global reserve currency by people who don't like their own. Hitherto, this point, there has not been really an escape from this for most people, or there has not been a readily accessible alternative until now. Cryptocurrency is a reality, and it is within the reach of most people in the world now, whereas it wasn't even 10 years ago, because over roughly, depending on who you look at and listen to, over 65% of the world now has a smartphone. 65% of the world. Some estimates are even higher than that. But for sure, the majority of the world has smartphones. If you have a smartphone, then you can transact in cryptocurrency. So if the United States is now being called out essentially by the IMF as the irresponsible entity that it is as far as its currency wars and the manipulation that we've done here with the dollar and the debasement of the dollar, it's not just us here now that are suffering in the United States from this. The rest of the world who is holding this now depreciating and devaluing currency, they're getting affected negatively by this too. But hitherto this point, they haven't had an option to choose something else. Now they do. There will be, in my opinion, a wide adaptation of cryptocurrency very soon, and that is probably going to play into a few of the factors present right now with the conflicts certainly in the Middle East and also with Russia. The rest of the world really resents our meddling. The rest of the world really doesn't like the way that not only we tell everybody else what to do, but how we use our dollar to manipulate them. And essentially, we have been doing dollar warfare, printing soft money and conducting warfare this way. And essentially, by weaponizing the dollar, we've been able to keep troops out of these different countries and force them to do our bidding. But now the rest of the world has cryptocurrency as an alternative. And the IMF, in this position paper and in this statement, recognized that they don't like the way that we're doing things. And essentially, our time is limited. When you look at what happened over the past several weeks with the build-up, obviously, to Iran launching missiles and all the other stuff that they did towards Israel, this is really a harbinger of what's to come. The United States is losing not only its position internationally because we have a very feckless head at the executive branch, Joe Biden and all of his administration, who really have prioritized transgender issues, inclusivity issues in the military rather than building up a combat effective force. And since we don't have a combat effective force, and since the military is having serious recruiting issues because, again, the priority is on including everybody, regardless of how they want to identify and if they want to defecate in a cat box, since that's the focus of our military, it's lost respectability internationally. And since now the rest of the world has been caught up in conflicts that we started in many cases, or certainly that we helped initiate in others, it is well polished to position itself for its own self-defense and for its own monetary solvency, because the United States' dollars are worth less, and because we've lost respect worldwide because we have Joe Biden at the head of things, and because our military the Department of Defense is being headed by people who really have no business doing that. This has not been something that has just started with Joe. I mean, this has been going for a while. Definitely under Barack Obama, this was certainly an issue. So friends, all of this is leading to a point. The world is tired of taking its marching orders from us. They don't respect us at the minimum. And our dollar is worth less and less. And now people have an exit strategy. So I think that it is reasonable for us to expect that we are going to see major economic corrections that will probably usher in or come directly on the heels of international conflict. The rest of the world doesn't need our dollars anymore. They have a currency that will work. When you've got the majority of the world now that have smartphones, even in the developing world where people are impoverished and may not have clean water, but they've got a smartphone, the United States loses by default its global reserve currency status. The only reason people are hanging on to it is because they ain't got nothing better. But when you look at what's happening with our dollar being debased, we know that here in the United States, that 25 to 30% of our dollar just got eaten away since 2020 with the printing that they've done. We know that when we go to the grocery store and we see that groceries are more expensive, or that rent has gone up, or housing is unaffordable, or insurance premiums have gone up, and taxes have gone up. We see that reflected here. But that's part of the issue. The rest of the world knows it too. And the conflicts that we're seeing internationally are going to hit full force once the rest of the world says, you know what, not only do we not respect you. Wasn't it funny when Joe Biden told Iran, like, whether launching missiles on Israel, his one word was, don't. Well, they did. They did. And guess what? They're going to keep doing whatever they want because nobody respects Joe. We are not respected, and our dollar is less and less valued. If you don't have fear from your enemies and you don't have respectability from your comrades, you got nothing. And that's where we're at. So, friends, I am preparing for global instability. I am preparing for probably the lead up to World War III. And I'm preparing for our dollar being worthless. And in my personal opinion, that's a variety of strategies to include, whether it's diversifying your personal holdings away from the dollar in different ways. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just sharing with you what I've done. I've taken some of what I have and I've put it into stored food. I've taken some of what I've had and I put it towards cultivation. I've taken some of what I've had and I put it towards precious metals. There's various different things you can do. But the world is on to this, and it's not going to be much longer that they are willing to play ball with us. And when they cease playing ball, we are going to be in trouble. So the wise man foreseeth destruction and hides himself, and that's what I intend to do. So part of how we focus on this channel in building up our preparedness is with the three things: the beans, bullets, and band-aids. So with beans, obviously food storage and food cultivation. Bullets, that is the self-protection side of the house. There is nothing that the Biden administration can do, in my opinion, at this point, to assure the American people that they have their backs. They certainly do not have the backs of our allies. That's for sure and certain. When they're actively fomenting and paying to support the opposition in every one of these major conflicts, like they're about keeping their power. They're not about doing what's right by people. And when it comes right down to it, the American people are the best securers of their freedom and of their liberty, and ultimately of their security. And that's how we do it in the self-defense mindset, the bullets. And then there's the band-aids. So with the band-aids, friends, part of what I've done over the past 10 years is to bring you content, not only free of charge here on YouTube, but also I have ways to train. You can train with me online. I've got 2 courses, a 4 and a 7-hour course. We've got an intro into medical preparedness, which is called the Foundations of Medical Prep. And then I also have a course that focuses more on the herbal side of things, with the assumption that supply lines, as we've seen with COVID, eventually break down. And when they break down, you're going to have to go towards the ancient path. And that's what I'm trying to equip people to do here, not only on this channel, but also with opportunities to train online. I also have a one-time offering this year for the boot camp, which is my in-person course, and that's in September. That is right before the election. So this is the opportunity to train with me before things get crazy. So those are the opportunities, friends. I hope that you have enjoyed the video, and if you have, please share this video with one person that you know would benefit from it. You can subscribe to the channel as well if you want to stay in touch with me and know when new videos are posted. Make sure you click that bell button, elsewise you're not gonna know. So you can do it that way and stay with me on those vehicles. Also, you can support me on Patreon, subscribe to our cryptocurrency, and PayPal. I have links below. Really appreciate you guys. This is going to be a very, very interesting summer we're walking into. We're in spring right now, and it reminds me of a phrase: in spring, in the time when kings go off to war. The world right now is spinning on war. Currency is a huge part of this, and ultimately I think we're going to see some cataclysmic changes probably in our day. Hope the video was helpful for y'all. Have a blessed weekend. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off. I'll see y'all later. Bye.